Hey guys, Brad from RotoHeat back at it, talking our top 10 series. Today we're going to talk about the top 10 Dynasty wide receivers. Don't forget, if you haven't checked out our other top 10s in this series so far, go look at them. They're good. Got a lot of good information on there. We're having a lot of good conversations in the comments of the video, so make sure you jump in there. Let us know what you think about the top 10s. Give us your thoughts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, do all that good stuff so you can stay up to date. We're pumping out a lot of content. So we're doing the top 10 series for Dynasty, but we've got redraft stuff that'll be coming up in the summer as we get you ready for your redrafts. We're doing rookie stuff currently for your Dynasty drafts. We've got IDPs on Monday night, so we do our live streams. We got IDP Monday. We got Offense Tuesday, but we're going to be doing even more live streams as we go, as we've been adding more staff, more content creators, all sorts of good stuff. So keep it locked in here. And with that, away we go. So it's not going to be a surprise. This top 10 list is going to be full of guys that you're not surprised about. But to kick it off, number one overall, Michael Thomas. He's a target hog. You know, you're going to get 140 plus targets with him. The band they brought back together, and the head maestro, Drew Brees, loves to find Michael Thomas. Dude is on average catching 70% plus of his passes, 11 plus yards per catch. All of these numbers add up to a guy who's probably going to get you, 1,500 yards, 7 to 10, maybe even more touchdowns. I mean, the sky's the limit for Michael Thomas. Easily number one for quite some time. Number two, DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver, Arizona Cardinals. This one, some folks may be a little surprised about. I've seen kind of the back and forth in the community. Hopkins going to Arizona is a good thing. It is a very good thing. They are an offense that doesn't stop. It's an air raid type offense where you've got a lot of receivers on the field. They're moving quick. Kyler Murray's getting the ball out quick, and Hopkins on average saw well over 100 targets in Houston. I could see that staying very similar, 125 to 150 targets. He's got a good catch rate and a good kick. He's very good at getting the ball, and Kyler Murray's a good thrower. He's not quite Deshaun Watson just yet. Deshaun Watson's matured a lot in his time in the NFL, but you're seeing that maturation process, and you're going to see the same with Kyler Murray. He's a very good quarterback, very smart. Very good placing the ball. It's going to help Hopkins. He's going to see a ton of targets. Easily going to be number two and still have a few good years of high-end wide receiver one numbers. So we feel good about him as the number two here. Number three, Tyreek Hill, wide receiver, Kansas City Chiefs. Hill's one of those guys. It's kind of a boom or bust type scenario when it comes to what's going on with him. So he played 12 games last year. If you see 12 to 16 games, you're probably going to get 850 plus yards. Last year I think it was somewhere around 900 yards, just under 900 yards receiving. If you see him in 16 games and he plays somewhere in the realm of the 14 to 16 games, going to be 1,000 plus yard receiver. They've added some pieces around. Obviously, we've got CH coming out of the backfield now, who's gonna be a good receiver. But this offense is so dynamic, and there's so much going on that it's not going to hurt Tyreek Hill with them continuing to add options and do some really good things in this offense. Hardman's not going to take away much from Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is Tyreek Hill's biggest enemy. As long as Tyreek Hill stays out of trouble and everything goes smoothly and he's on the field, he's going to be a high-end wide receiver one. Number four, Davante Adams, wide receiver, Green Bay Packers. This is an interesting one because he's had only 1,000 plus yard receiving season in his career, but he's always been in the high end wide receiver category because of lots of catches. He's very consistent. He's a very good wide receiver. I think the community is going to be kind of up and down because of what Green Bay's been doing and the way that they're handling this roster construction. But if an Aaron Rodgers comes out and plays angry, that's going to be huge for Davante Adams. I think the biggest issue that we've seen as of recently is the lack of help on the other side of the field. Teams are paying attention and focusing on Adams, and there's just nothing else to take away the attention. That makes it difficult. They're turning to more of a run-first type offense, but on that side of things, they've added help. They got Devin Funchess. People are sleeping on the Devin Funchess ad. I think that's going to help take away some of that because he's kind of the big slot receiver, kind of in the middle of the field type guy. teams can't just focus on Adams. They have to think about other players. Jay Sternberger continuing to mature as a tight end. There's a lot going on there that's going to help Davante Adams. So we feel good about him being in the kind of the first tier of wide receiver one. So as we're doing our rankings, 1 through 5 is kind of very consensus with the team, and then 6 through 10 there's a little bit more fluctuation. We believe that Adams is still firmly in that high-end wide receiver one category. Number 5, the first of the Tampa Bay Buccaneer receivers on this list, Chris Godwin. The Bucs offense looks on paper like something that's just going to be very dynamic. Obviously with Winston, it was huge, over 5,000 yards. What happens if you cut those interceptions, down to more like 12 to 16 interceptions? What does that do to that offense, and how much more production do you see? It could be huge. It could be very huge. They've added Keyshawn Vaughn to help that running game get more balanced. They've added obviously Gronkowski for Brady to have kind of that safety net trustworthy tight end. Although OJ Howard and Cameron Brate are very good as well. So this offense is very dynamic. We expect there to be a lot of yards and a lot of targets to go around. So we're comfortable with multiple Bucs receivers in our wide receiver one conversation. We just see Godwin as the better long-term option in general. Obviously Godwin's younger and continuing to ascend and continuing to look really good. Nothing to take away from Evans. Evans is an amazing receiver. We just think that Godwin's got kind of the longer-term appeal that will bump him up into this top tier of wide receiver ones in our mind. Number 6 on the list, Amari Cooper, wide receiver, Dallas Cowboys. Cooper's always kind of been one of those guys that people are just either hot or cold on, and we're just hot on. Like, he's not gotten less than 110 targets and 1,000 plus yards in his last few seasons, and we think the sky is going to continue to be the limit. Dak's going to resign, and if Dak doesn't resign, they have a quality backup in Andy Dalton that will get him the ball. The offense is very dynamic with Zeke, and obviously they had CeeDee Lamb, and they have Gallup and Jarwin at tight end. I mean, there's a lot going on there, but it's going to help everybody because teams can't focus and try to take one specific guy out of the game. They have to worry about everybody on that offense, and that's going to be good for Amari Cooper. Maybe a little more one-on-one, or maybe just one-on-one with a safety over top, and some of those things that will allow him to just do what he does best. And we expect 110 plus targets. We expect 1,000 plus yards, probably in the 7-ish touchdown range. Going to make him a nice wide receiver one for your dynasty roster. Number 7, Kenny Golladay from the Detroit Lions. Gotta love when you see a Detroit Lion on a top 10 list. As the RotoHeat resident Detroit Lions fan, Kenny Golladay is probably one of the few Lions that I trust. Even when nobody's playing a quarterback and they're rolling out, David Blau and Jeff Driscoll, he still produces. He is proving that he is quarterback proof. When Stafford's out there, he's even better. So we expect him to be another one of those guys to get you probably 110 plus targets. He's got a good catch percentage, so he should turn a lot of those targets into receptions. Another guy that's going to be 1,000 plus yard receiver. And even with Stafford, if he goes down and that back still hasn't fully healed, he's going to be okay. Chase Daniel is the backup, which isn't super exciting, but Kenny Golladay made something out of nothing last year when they had nobody at quarterback behind Stafford, so it doesn't really matter. Number 8, Julio Jones, wide receiver, Atlanta Falcons. Now, obviously, this one, Julio's getting older. The conversation, at least last year, and we've been seeing this year, is when does he hit the slope and he starts going down? I think he's probably got another couple good years still left in him because he's stayed fairly healthy and he's played through injury pretty well in these last couple years. He has only had 2 seasons in his career since 2011 that he's had less than 100 targets. And if that's the case, if he continues to see 100 plus targets, he's going to see 1,200 plus yards and 6 plus touchdowns. Like, it's just the way it works. That offense continues to be solid. Obviously they've turned Devonta Freeman into Todd Gurley. So one kind of injury prone back for one other kind of injury prone back, but Gurley still got some good seasons. So they add a running game. They have good receivers, Calvin Ridley. They lost Austin Hooper, but they added Hayden Hurst, which is comparable talent, skill-wise, all of that. So he should still have a great opportunity to be very successful this year, and probably for the next couple of years, as long as he stays healthy and keeps grinding like he's been doing. One of the hardest workers out there, and he's a great receiver for your fantasy roster. Number 9, Allen Robinson, wide receiver, Chicago Bears. This is a guy that, that Rick and I, if you've been watching some of the streams, that we've talked him up and continue to talk him up. The dude's a beast. I mean, I don't like the Bears. I'm not a Bears guy. Their offense didn't like them either last year. Their offense wasn't great, but Montgomery and Allen Robinson still produced well in that offense. If you watch the top 10 running backs, we talk about the top 10 breakouts. We talk about Montgomery and still producing. Allen Robinson still producing in spite of a really rough offense that he's been playing in. Trubisky's not consistent. Now, obviously, Foles coming over from Jacksonville should help them. As long as he stays healthy, things should go well. But even without him staying healthy, Allen Robinson's good for 125 plus targets. And if that's the case, he's another, like all the other guys on this top 10 list, he's good at catching the ball. He's good at converting those targets into catches and making something out of that. We're expecting him kind of somewhere in the 1,100 yard range and about 6 touchdowns. Very solid season. Continues to be very solid. It took him a little time getting up and running after the injury, but this dude's just a beast, and he's going to be a beast. He's still young enough that he's going to give you a good wide receiver 1 seasons for some time to come. And last but not least, the next Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver, Mike Evans. Evans has never had less than 118 targets in a season. This guy's, upper 60s per 70% catch rate. He's going to turn a lot of targets into receptions, and those receptions are going to turn into a good amount of yardage and some touchdowns. So with the Tampa Bay receivers, you have to figure out kind of who's going to be the guy that turns those receptions into touchdowns, the red zone threat, things like that. Like Evans can do it all. So he's going to get, kind of moved around in there. They've got a couple tight ends that could be red zone threats. So, I'm more comfortable thinking in the, 11 to 1,300 yard range. Touchdowns wise, it's probably more like the 5 to 7-ish range. It really depends on how that offense rolls things out. So we're still confident, though, that he's a nice wide receiver 1, and we are excited about him for the future because he's still young enough that he's going to have some nice wide receiver 1 years to come. Yes, there's a lot of mouths to feed. No, this isn't the Cleveland Browns. Like, this is a different situation. They have a smart, savvy veteran quarterback that knows how to be smart with the football in a high-powered offense with a ton of talent, a ton of young talent that's hardworking, that's gelled really well. The only pieces that are really coming in that have to fit in are Gronk and Keyshawn Vaughn. Great offense. We're excited about the future with this Tampa Bay Bucs team. Brady will give them as many years as he can, and once he stops needing to perform at a high level, he'll stop. Just the way it works. So we feel good about him. That is our top 10 wide receivers. Keep it locked in here. Go over to RotoHeat.com and stay up to date with all of our Dynasty Outlooks. We've got our 2020 Dynasty Outlook series already rolling. We've been hitting rookies, we've been hitting veterans, everybody in between. Don't forget to like and subscribe for all of our new content here on YouTube as well.
Also, right there, playlist. Hit it. Watch the videos. Do it. You want to.